have left? Oh no. Biden tells Democratic governors he needs more sleep. Bro, do you remember when this was a fucking headline, man? God, what a fucking different time. UBI. Not sure if there's any. You're a big support. I mostly support it too. I mean, if you want to jump on, I don't care. You can tell me, give me your spiel. If you want, who cares? If you have a topic that you are passionate about and you have a thing that you want to fucking put out there as an idea, why not? Go ahead. I don't care. Don't say the F slur or anything like that. Don't say slurs. Just generally don't do it. It's probably bad for you, but you know. Yeah, usually though, I only look for people that are like antagonistic for the Friday calls. But we don't even do as much political antagonism, right? That's it. Hey, go ahead. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I exist. How are you?
Good. So yeah, I would like to promote UBI, and as you see my username, it's like Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, I was confused. I feel like it's like that's when I was like, all right, well, isn't that like I think a lot of people are going to conflate the two. What's the difference?
Well, so I definitely was trying to understand why Democrats lost. I'm probably more Democratic than not.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to different streams and I saw a lot of people actually support the Marx. So I started asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
They banning me and said, go read Marx. And I come from Poland. I lived under the communism. And for me, like, done. We had a Cold War. It's over. For me, and it was the first time in my life I actually ended up reading Marx. And as I was reading this, I realized, holy cow, this stuff is like really bad because it looked like theft, right? So I made an argument. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, on the other hand, Marx has something great that we experience now, because apparently he made a prediction over 100 years ago that we're just not going to have enough jobs for everybody. And we have it right now. Like, I'm using now ChatGPT. I don't know if you do, but that tool is mind-blowing. Like, I'm going to lose my job because of that. I can see that.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate, you know.
But I'm thinking that so I wonder what you think about this, that we have this huge technological progress that's coming our way, which is actually a good thing. But it's at the same time bad because it really deprives a lot of people of having good jobs.
Okay, I am going to say this. My thoughts on this are I prefer generally Western social democracies, right? Like I think Europe, you guys get a little bit better than we do here in America. Just on a general note, obviously there are going to be issues with any government out there. I generally would like a government to be supporting people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What you're talking about, I think I can point you in a direction that would be valuable to you, but I know I personally can't explain. I know that there's this guy on YouTube. His name is Brooks, and he tried to explain this to me once, and I was kind of picking up parts of it. I didn't pick up all of it. He goes really deep into political theory, as well as like philosophy and shit. Into this guy called Deleuze, Remy Deleuze. And he had, during quarantine, right? He developed a...
Can you put it in chat? So, because like, do you think you could put it in chat? Because like English is...
No. Yeah, I'm going to send you everything. I'm going to tell you everything now. I'm going to send you everything after I'm done with it. I'm just telling you the stories just so that way I can get it in my head what I'm trying to explain. Sorry, it's just what it is. So there's this guy, Brooks. He actually talks about what you're talking about, but he talks about this as this kind of expanding and contracting outer level of capitalism, where there is this constant response for capital to integrate what it needs to go ahead and continue to survive. It has this like nature to it, which if you're looking at Marx is saying capital is a necessary transition from feudal economy into a socialist or communist future, right? Remy Deleuze and Guattari in their book Anti-Oedipus, they talk about this expansion of capital to incorporate what it needs to survive, whether that's like, oh, the government is providing food, housing, whatever. It's going to capital as a form of government is going to find a way to survive by incorporating other elements while still retaining the basic need for capital, which is power dispersion to people who have assets.
Okay, that's super complicated. Can you simplify
I know.
it?
Can I simplify it? I'm going to be honest with you, Guy. No, I am not the one to do that. I'm going to recommend you two people though that you should talk to if you're really interested in this, because it is interesting. I just know that I don't know how to explain it. I think I know what you're asking, and I think I know somebody that can answer that better. So the first one is not Brooks. Somebody posted their link. I think it was Taylor. Posted their link in the chat. And not only that, they also do have a Discord called DGQC. That they actually get together, and the stuff that I'm talking about, they break it down. They break it down however they want to do it. And one of the big things that like they're working on right now, for instance, is translating stuff from the French outside of the French because they don't like the English translations. So they go into like a really heavy understanding of the theory. I can't explain it simply, right? Like that's the only thing I say. But if you want somebody that's probably closer to like social democrat, but also would be interesting, there is this Polish streamer that we're really close friends with called Chris Speaks, that you should check out. They're kind of more of a sociedem, which I think is more along the lines of what, I guess like communists and Marxists that would vote would be aiming for, because it's like, at least in America, you guys just got Tuscan again, but I don't really know what, like exactly the minutia, because I still think you have what the one guy's party in there. I don't really know what your elections look like currently. I don't really know how your parliament's formed like exactly without looking at it. So
but I come from Poland originally.
Yeah. So, there's this guy, Chris. He's Polish. He actually talks about a lot of this stuff within Poland too. Really cool guy. He is a VTuber. And it does have boobs sometimes, but we accept him anyways.
So what do you think about that future? Do you think we're going to hit that future where literally there will not be enough jobs for everybody?
I'm in between. So I think that what ends up happening is, do we enter into a future where we don't have enough jobs? I don't necessarily know. I think that we'll have some like level of population contraction that we're seeing with like, replacement rates going below in developed countries, which is causing, mass immigration from like lesser developed countries, right? I don't know if what ends up happening is we just have like this huge gap for 20 to 40 years where we just have this like kind of, post World War II, really large generation, right? And like that eventually ends up like stabilizing out, because like worldwide we are dealing with that. Do I think that we get to the point where it's like full automation and people aren't doing things? Personally, no. I think we're going to be people are going to have to. I think people are going to always be people that fall to the wayside. But I think largely enough people are comfortable that they're not going to actually change anything about it. You're not going to be able to get a large enough voting crew of the people who are completely disparaged by capital.
No, but can we have a situation? I mean, imagine that tomorrow somebody makes a breakthrough on like fusion, and we basically have infinite energy, and like a lot of energy industry is gone. All these people suddenly, like overnight, effectively
they lose their jobs. But the people who own the energy industries, who have assets and stocks and money and all the rest of that, they still have their power. They retain that power. So they'll just either go on with what they're doing. The dispersal only happens on like the lower class when it comes to something like that, right? Like in terms of like the harm.
But if someone comes up with that invention, how much power again they can have to stop it, right? I mean, if you can basically monopolize the whole energy industry with the fusion stuff, which is free, then who can stop it? That person would have more power than any other industry,
well,
right?
yeah, but like at that point, it becomes novel because it's only more powerful until somebody else discovers it, right? Which as soon as like you discover something like that, every country is going to be looking to get it. That stuff will get out onto open market, and it's going to effectively become a costless resource, right?
Right.
So the only
so
thing.
what about these jobs? Like these people. So what if that would happen and all the people overnight lose the jobs? I mean, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That
they die. They wouldn't be able to put, they wouldn't be able to put food on their tables and they die. Yeah, we've had this happen before. It's like the Dust Bowl, the like 1920s, 1930s. We had a lot of, overblown whatever during a Gilded Age, right? Like that's how we look at the 20s. It was a Gilded Age. We were having a lot of excess. But then, come 30s, like worldwide, even before World War II, we were looking at, massive plagues and famines, unemployment going to extremely, extremely high levels, which, facilitated a lot of the authoritarianism that you saw come out of that era because it was an option to try to get the resources necessary, right? They just fall off the wagon. That's it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I don't like that, but that's what happens. Yeah.
What about then the UBI? Because like, for example, Saudi Arabia has effective UBI. I mean, they have huge amount of money to keep their population sort of happy.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a stipend, right? And that population functions.
The population that's like voting population, right?
I mean, I guess, I don't know if they have any voting. They have kings and they have
like some, but that's like the citizenry is effectively within the kingdom, and then most of the people there are, treated not better than. I mean, at least like the foreign folk who are a lot of their service industry are treated no better than slaves.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that society functions, that country is stable, and I think a huge part of it is UBI. And when you go to like Dubai,
slavery. I think the slavery is what makes it functional. To be honest with you, like slavery is terrible, but like, yeah, you're basically getting free input into a society. You pay for food basically, right?
Is it? Do you think that it's more like they have this super cheap oil and they just get tons of money for it?
Well, I think that's where they classically how they've gotten to this point, right? But like Saudi Arabia is like expanding out dramatically in all sorts of other sectors like entertainment and whatnot. So, not entirely. Not to mention the fact that the whole area, is like starting to be looked at as, especially with the normalization of Israel-Saud relations. It's being looked at as more of like a destination spot. I mean, we've seen that happen with Dubai with all the kind of like right-wing, like Andrew Tate's and shit, like talking up Dubai and how cool Dubai and like these parts of the Middle East are. Like Mohammed bin Salman is trying to do effectively the same thing with, Saudi Arabian stuff.
But saying that people will just die, it's sort of negative.
It's bad. I don't think we should have that happen. I want to be clear. I think people dying is bad. I'm really okay with making that take.
So
I think it is. I think in a part it's unavoidable, but I think what the issue with the UBI is I just don't think there's a political will for it. Unfortunately. Okay, I like it. Okay. I like the idea of UBI, by the way, but I just don't think there's political will.
Oh, so you think that it's just unrealistic?
It might be more realistic for your country than mine. Like Poland, right? I actually think it's more realistic for you guys because...
No. US. I moved to US in the 90s. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's extremely unrealistic in this country. Like that could ever happen.
But they have it in Alaska. They have it in other places. They test it.
No, the Alaska thing is that they're getting paid a stipend on oil, right? So like Alaska as a state is selling the oil and they just cut the profits with the people living in Alaska.
Yeah. So I'll do the same thing and just ask Elon Musk to basically Elon Musk, Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezos, and let these guys just contribute to the UBI fund, and then anybody who's like in poverty, just they get the money.
Well, so I think the reason why I would disagree with that, I think that if we were going to be having something along the lines of UBI, one, we wouldn't want just the billionaires supporting it, like the big ones and everything. It would basically become an expansion of like Social Security, right? Like that would be like the clearest and easiest way for us to do UBI in America, right?
Why not just cut it at millionaires and say only millionaires contribute to UBI and they don't get anything?
Not because millionaires are the ones that pay for the politicians.
Well, okay. No, you're talking about realism, but I'm talking about the concept. Why not, as a concept, basically ask all these millionaires to contribute to the UBI, right? Wouldn't that kind of be fine? If we figure out how to do it politically, because you're realistic. You're basically saying, okay, good idea, but unrealistic. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, it would be realistic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that all sounds great, right? Again, we're adding in the realism as like the frustration. I think that again, I'm not against UBI. I'm trying to think of ways that you could possibly make it real. I think Social Security expansion is probably the best. The idea of like, I don't know. I don't really think the US federal government kind of runs at a deficit, right? Like they do taxes, you know what I mean? But like generally speaking, the services that they have, they run at a deficit because we're paying for those with taxes, right? I don't think that like with Alaska, with the oil stipend, it's because Alaska's running at a surplus due to the oil that they have nationalized. I think there is almost no political will to nationalize any industry in America. And that would be what you would require to be able to actually make something like UBI work, which I think would be...
Nationalize?
Sorry?
Did you say nationalize?
Yeah, you'd have to nationalize, because like, so Alaskan oil is nationalized to Alaska. If you're taking Alaska as a state, but I'm just using the word nationalized. It's a business that's run by the state, right? Like that's what a nationalized business would be, right? So that's how Alaska makes the money. I don't think that we have any political will to nationalize industries in America, even if I personally would agree that maybe we should for several industries.
So you think that the only way for this to work, for Elon Musk to contribute, would be to nationalize, let's say, his SpaceX business. And then it makes tons of money, and then part of the profits go to the UBI. But it would only be possible, in your view, if that would be nationalized, not if we ask him to write a check.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Because, well, you'd be looking at something where, hey, it wouldn't even just be that. I'm saying the nationalization of it is how Alaska works, right? Like that's how they're getting their UBI money, is through them taking an industry, right? I'm saying that's how that works.
I got you. And Saudi Arabia as well, in a way, right?
Yeah, because Saudi Arabia as well, because they've got their oil nationalized. With America, like by and large, you wouldn't have that. I think that the way you would do it is through an expansion of Social Security. That's probably like the more likely federal way you would do it, I guess. But yeah, on a state-by-state basis, you could do it. It's just kind of, I think federally, it would have to come to like a Social Security expansion.
You just don't see it as a viable part of the tax system, because that's what it would be.
I don't think that there's the political will. It's not so much that it is. I think it is viable. I think we could do these things. I think we have a lot of like healthcare. If we nationalize healthcare, we'd save a lot of money on healthcare over like a long term in America. That's like one of our big issues, right? I think that's an industry that should be nationalized. I think that's a good idea. Then, we've got all this extra money. We could do something with it, or even just kind of, stop paying for the production of like things that we maybe don't necessarily need in terms of like military, production, right? Like developing certain tanks or, weapons or whatever, right? There's certain ones that's like, we probably don't actually have a large need for that. We could cut all this, but then it would always end up going to some other government contractor to do something else, which is like, this is like a larger issue that I take from Citizens United, which is that businesses in this country can just pay politicians, and run PACs and shit,
So why, in your view, there is no political will? Because I mean, obviously, this is something I'm thinking about. So these are very good ideas to kind of get thinking. So I wonder, why do you think, like, because we talk about it and we would think, like, probably people in your chat good number would agree, why not at least try it, right? But then you're saying there's no political will. What in your view is the biggest obstacle? Like what do you think would it take?
A overturning of Citizens United, and the ability for millionaires and billionaires to freely influence our political systems, as well as probably some sort of fair use doctrine when it comes to like news and whatnot, so that way we're not having someone like Elon Musk or some other news media conglomerate in a tractable way pushing narratives out from those same millionaire, billionaire, namesakes as like a way to go ahead and program the population. But yeah, fair use doctrine would probably be fair use doctrine, repeal Citizens United. I think we would solve 95% of our problems as a country.
Interesting. I wish more people this generation would even know about this, because now a lot of people.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, dude, you've walked into like so I don't know if you know this about me. I'm like the dumbest political person in my space. By a lot. I'm the drama guy. I look at like internet drama stuff and I can loosely talk about this shit. Everyone else around me is way smarter about politics than I am. And have like way better things. I'm probably one of the more doomer ones, but yeah, I do a lot of internet drama shit too. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have ideas about this. We do, a lot of us around here talk about it. I would strongly recommend it. There's a lot of cool people. Yeah.
Question of the left field.
Sure.
In China, it's kind of a situation where there's the political system apart from the free market. You have literally billionaires in China.
Yeah.
Do we want to have something like China in that, like the businessmen just really don't have much to say?
Well, so the issue with like the China one is that you're kind of looking at when it comes to China, I talk about this a lot. It's called hyperborea. Do you know who Alexander Dugin is?
No.
Okay. He's a Russian philosopher who talks about this thing called Eurasianism. Eurasianism is this kind of hyper-authoritarianism type ideal that's formed with the northern countries, and has expanded into, a lot of Chinese fascist propaganda. And I would argue to say that, like, yeah, the Chinese Communist Party, they have some control over the business, over the economy, in the sense of who they have running it. I look at them as an authoritative country. Yeah, they have like some parts of capital, but it is through the function of the state. We've seen with the evergreen stuff that's come up, right? The housing market fall through in China, that we've seen some of the CEOs and whatnot have become, kind of ex-commed from the larger Chinese Communist Party stratum, right? Which to me, it feels like, this kind of authoritative state controlling industry thing, which is, again, fundamentally anti, our system of, economics. I think that is absolutely what I disagree with there. I don't think it's like, yeah, China has all these other benefits, like all these other goods, but they have a lot of other bads. Like, they have literal slave camps, concentration camps, committing a genocide against the, Uyghur Muslims right now, right? Like they have that. They have issues with like all sorts of free speech and, being able to protest things. Not to mention just the general jingo attitudes of President Xi, and like the kind of brinksmanship he's been doing with Taiwan is, I think, something that should raise the ire of anyone who is living in mainland China. As well as just generally the way that they're interacting with the world, having a lot of their allies, be sort of, beleaguered lately between like North Korea, Venezuela, Iran, Russia. Like there's a lot going on in China that I'm like, yeah, no, I really don't like this. One, because I think their political system is built as a, again, like a level of capital that I would honestly agree is a fascist economic system. And they have their own massive issues, but those are issues that can't be resolved peacefully because they don't have that ability to express themselves peacefully as an electorate. And I generally I think civil wars are bad, you know? Yeah. I think they're just generally bad. But I think that's the only way you'd actually see something as an expansion from like, Maoist stuff, which is, housing, health, food, right? Which is, they haven't expanded on that in like, 50, 60 years at this point. You know, and that's like the way I look at it. It's like they seem a little bit frozen, and if anything, they seem like they're backsliding because now they do have a new, group of oligarchs, and that's within a supposedly communist-ish system.
So you said the biggest obstacle is for the people who have money to mess with politics.
Yep.
So I thought about China, but any model that you have in mind, or do you have any solutions of your own?
Yeah, I think that this is like one of those where it takes a extremely long time to develop a true and proper solution. I would personally argue sans revolution, because I think that I'm just going to throw that out the window because I don't really think there's any value in saying, hey, maybe there will be a revolution. I don't. If it happens, it happens. Will it happen again? Probably someday. Like whether it's space time or whatever. I think the best way to do it is strengthening, your local political structures, building on those local political structures, expanding it to a statewide basis. Because I think at that point you can actually do something. Like with Mitt Romney in Utah when he was governor, he developed something. Was it Utah or was it Maine? I don't recall. He was governor of a state and he developed this, something that was like very similar to what we call Obamacare now, right? And he developed that. Massachusetts. He developed that, put that into law, and then, we reflected that on the national level with varying consequences and problems, and, also good to come out of it as well. All right. Just so we're clear. I think that's the way you do it. I think it's that personally, the way I would call it is you form Soviets, which, if you're looking at like the term Soviet, right, you're looking at, small little worker collectives and groups of people that are actually have interests that can be in a local area together, get that together, build that up. And then, after you build that up, you have like a little thing. You don't have to call a Soviet. You just say, hey, we're just going to make a little local political party and we're going to get Jim elected to be mayor. And then from there, you institute policies there and you try to reflect that on the state. You apply for state funding. You do it through bureaucracy. It's really, really annoying, bro. Yeah.
But what if the people who have money will still influence people in the local level because they have less money, so it would be easier to bribe them?
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Money as a concept is to buy influence, right? If you were to get somebody who's like nationally ultra beloved, right? Like everybody agreeably is like, dude, this guy's fucking sick, right? Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to make it so that the contradictions themselves can no longer withstand even like a moneyed out principle, similar to AOC, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, where, she went ahead. They put up a grassroots movement that they built to oust that one guy. The next election came around. She had huge money against her. And what did she do? She relied on that movement. That reliance on the movement and getting like an actual group together to work towards keeping your people in power is extremely important. And I think a lot of what ends up fucking up with, especially like left politics, left liberal, whatever you want to call it, is we don't really build up those like kind of smaller movements to ensure people's safety in terms of like political safety. I don't think we do enough to do that.
Wouldn't it actually come back to the media thing? Because like if you have independent media, then nobody can buy anything. Because right now Elon Musk can just buy Twitter, and do all sorts of other things. Just buy election, in my view. And, of course...
One real quick, I need to correct something in chat. When I'm talking Soviet, the slippers, I'm talking about the Ukrainian, Makhnovian, anarchist type Soviet. Not the Soviets, not the USSR. I'm talking about like Makhnovian in 1918 to 1922, like a very specific like workers, like political union sort of thing. That's what I mean. You're talking the PGRs too. It's like I'm basically just saying making like a worker collective or like just that would be like one thing if you're trying to fix work. But if you're trying to fix like healthcare, you get people together that care about that. You get people together that give a shit about the thing and make like these kind of micronized like political states within a larger political state. That's what I'm trying to advocate for, if that makes sense, listeners.
So I wonder, going back in the circle, wouldn't that mean that media actually may be at the center of it? Because if you have strong media, then nobody can buy, elections if it's independent, right? Like, so then no matter how much money you pay, AOC and others can actually have a movement, and it cannot be like bought, right? So if we have wouldn't actually focusing on the media, actually, like making sure that we have all access, like everybody has broadband, and like there's something like public Twitter that like it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the issue with media stuff is that, I mean, one, legacy media isn't going to change. That's going to be how a lot of people get served everything that they talk about, right? Like that's just that's there. There are some people that are just going to watch TV. Some people do use Twitter. I would not say Twitter is is worthwhile because it has a bias in what articles it serves you. That's a known thing. That's something that's owned. Facebook's the same way. Instagram's the same way. I'm sure Blue Sky is going to get there too. Yeah, I think like what it should be is that you develop your localities, right? Develop your local governments and develop local figures that then it's just doing democracy the really boring bureaucratic way. Like that's all that it is. It's just general grassroots organizing, It's like the 50-state strategy with Obama in 2008, I suppose.
I wish we could make this political system like open source. Like I'm a big supporter of Linux. I was into Linux in the early days. Like you just couldn't even install anything. And now basically Android is like, made huge progress to Linux. And like nobody even has Microsoft phones because it's such a crappy system. We always knew it. But, Linux obviously based on Unix, and it's open source, and it progresses faster than anything else. And I just wish there was some kind of system that we could have like an open source government, like I know
what would
that
look like? I don't even know what that means, because we kind of do, because we have democracy. We can introduce bills to repeal other bills and change even the Constitution. Like we have that. That's what democracy is.
I guess, yeah.
It's just it doesn't move quickly, right? I think you're probably complaining more about bureaucracy than like.
You were watching this, when they were talking this bill, and you were saying,
I know. It's like, and it depends on the day you catch me. Some days I'm like, you know what? I think I get it. Most days I don't, because like some days it's like, like it makes sense because we have like some strength in the things that we already have because of bureaucracy. It's not like we're gonna, just start nuking folks, right? Like that's, partly bureaucracy. It's, one of the benefits of bureaucracy, even.
Well, it's bad news. You said UBI is not going to happen, even though you're supported. So I'm not happy with this, but you got me something to think about.
I'm telling you, like, there are people that get way better into this that are way less doomer about it than I am. But yeah, I would say check out Brooks. Brooks has a lot of like interesting like ways on like how to structure this. He's friends with this guy, President Sunday. They both do a really, really great job talking about like this kind of politic and like theory and shit. I would definitely recommend them. But yeah, there will always be people around here that argue about it too. You should check out you ever want to have debates and shit, you should check out Wick TV. He's pretty good. He has like panels all the time. Always looking for like people with weird different perspectives,
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was very 100%. Informative. Good talk. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You take care. Brazilian lad, what do you want? It's a call-in. The guy was asking me questions I thought were interesting. Yeah, listeners, I'm just advocating for like organizing locally. That's how we elect mayors. That's effectively yeah. I just say that like you should do it through like I just look at it through like the Macknov shit. You know, I'm fucking with you. No, that was like fuck, I don't even know if we have enough time to do the fucking punk rock thing, dude. That's unfortunate. Because I can't do anything with that Erudite segment from earlier, right? I really can't. There's literally nothing I can do with that one, unfortunately. Something to think about? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what a lot of people here do. Oh, there's a new morale hit piece by Vincent Martin. Okay, look at that. I'm curious. Let's take a look at this. This looks stupid. This came out like hours ago. Why not? I'm curious. The manipulative ways of